Hi, everybody. I'm sitting here with Richard Harvey, Jews for Jesus, London. You were raised as a fairly conservative Jewish guy.
Reform, liberal.
Liberal in London.
Liberal is the same as reform in the States. I don't know what you have in Australia.
We're talking to Australians here.
Hi, guys.
They understand liberal. And you came to faith in Jesus. How old were you about?
About 17.
Young man. And immediately everybody at home said, we love you, we love your new religion.
Well, my father became a believer in Jesus about the same time as me.
Pretty awesome.
One of my brothers a couple of years later, and my grandfather I prayed with at the age of 78 to receive the Lord.
But not everybody has that experience.
No, I was very fortunate. My family didn't reject me. They thought I was a bit odd, but maybe I am. So I've been odd for the past 40 years or so.
And you've had quite a career in Jewish and theological work, not only with Jews for Jesus, but All Nations. What else have you done?
Well, I've
started
taught.
with CMJ.
I've started with the Anglican ministry, Church's ministry amongst the Jewish people. I was then UK Director of Jews for Jesus. Then taught at a Bible college. Yeah, 80s, and then 90s taught at a Bible college, All Nations Christian College, and now back with Jews for Jesus. The basic question is, what does it mean to be Jewish and to be a disciple of Rabbi Jesus? How can you be fully Jewish and fully believing in Jesus at the same time?
And you're bringing that question not only to theologians, but to Joe Regular, Yosef Regular.
Yeah. I mean,
anybody.
You have to be able to explain it in lots of different ways. So for me, the question that my Jewish friends had was, why are you doing this? Forget this Jesus business. Come back to the synagogue. Be a nice Jewish boy. And I heard my Christian friends saying, well, now that you've become a Christian, you're no longer a Jew. Old things have passed away.
Have a ham and cheese sandwich.
Yeah, so I just found myself asking a lot of questions in my 20s. Who am I? What is my identity? And I realized it wasn't so much my identity crisis, but rather the sad failure of the church to show the love of Jesus to the Jewish people, and for most of my people to believe that it's not Jewish to believe in Jesus.
So your identity is settled.
I think I've constructed an identity that fits what the first Jewish disciples of Jesus also believed, that it's not a sin to be Jewish, it's not a sin to believe in Jesus. In fact, if Jesus is the Messiah, then what could be more Jewish than believing in him? As
a Jew for Jesus missionary again, back in January this year, you took over the helm of our London branch and of our UK ministry. What would be the top 2 prayer requests that you would want the Aussie faithful to be praying for you?
Well, Britain, as you may have heard, is going for an interesting time. We have this thing called Brexit. We have rising anti-Semitism. We have an increasingly secular society. So I would just pray for Jewish disciples of Yeshua, who are part of the whole church, to be able to live out their faith by showing love. And the word missionary, I think it's always been a difficult word, but when you think about it, God is a missionary God. God sends his own son. So we're just called, whether we're Christians, whether we're Jews, whatever, to participate in God's mission to save all humanity.
We don't think it's wrong when the United Nations has a mission in Ethiopia or South Africa. It's appropriate. So we have a God mission.
Yeah.
Not like the Blues Brothers, but similar.
We're on a mission from God.
That's
Bob.
it.
Yeah.
And
shows
so
your age.
No, it's showing. So we're praying for you. We're going to pray for the London staff. We're going to pray that God strengthen all the disciples there to be faithful, both in the church. And then what about the unbelieving Jewish community? Do you reckon that there's a growing interest, a plateaued interest, a diminishing interest?
Well, let me tell you, a couple of weeks ago, I went to the bar mitzvah of a friend of mine. It was his second bar mitzvah at the age of 90 years old. And he was the life and soul of the party. The whole synagogue was there to celebrate. And I didn't know why he'd invited me because we hadn't seen each other for a while. But when I got there, he had me sit right next to him on the top table. He wanted everyone to know that I was a Messianic Jew, a Jewish believer in Jesus. And he wanted everyone to know that he was right behind me so that he got me along so he could share his testimony. And I met the rabbi there, Reform rabbi, and the rabbi was fascinated and said, "You're very welcome here." So I
We're the
was
lightning rods
very
at times,
pleased.
isn't it?
Yeah, I was very pleased, and I think my experience is that the more people I meet these days, it's not the antagonism of the old days, you may remember.
I do.
I actually find people are searching, and they're far more accepting, and they want to see what your real life is about. What is your family life like? How are you bringing up your children, your grandchildren in our case? And I don't think it's so much of a problem now.
So the world has changed, but one by one, Jewish people still have the same objections. You get a chance to not only raise those, but answer those.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I don't even work with objections so much these days, because I think that it's more about the quality of your life and your relationships. I mean, yes, there are intellectual objections that our people have had for 2,000 years about accepting Jesus, but people fall in love with the person of Jesus.
And they trust you as a related person.
Well, I think we've just talked about, as leaders, we're called to be credible, we're called to be visible, and we're called to have competency. And I wouldn't say that I'm qualified in any of those areas particularly, but I just try and be who I am as a disciple of the Messiah.
And that's going to be the authentic that the people of the world are hunting right now.
Yeah.
They're looking for something. They're not looking for theology. They're not looking for religion. But if it comes with it, so be it. They're looking for the authentic.
Yeah, I mean, good theology comes in a relationship. It's about not just talking about God, which is the word theology, but about expressing God's life and God's love.
Experiencing it,
Yeah.
and then passing that on to others.
Through relationships.
Yeah. This is Richard Harvey, and we're going to be praying for him from Australia, New Zealand, Singapore. Our staff will be praying for you.
Thank you, Bob.
We are your colony.
Well, I thought you had to be a criminal to come to Australia, but I think anyone can go now.
No, they let me in. So it's a joy. Thank you, Richard. All the best. Shalom.
Bye.